So, what's going on? I heard some gunshots. Okay, how close to your residence were they? They were right outside my house, and I think someone's dead. We've talked about how David's parents appear to have been victims of a swatting incident while police investigated the death of a young girl found in the singer's car. But right now, we have the audio of the person calling in that apparent fake report to David's parents' home. And as we think about whether David is being targeted, whether someone is framing or harassing him, the question becomes, was this caller disguising their voice? Let's find out. Welcome to Sidebar. Presented, I'm O.I. Beck. We're exploring another strange and disturbing element in the investigation into the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Her body was found in the trunk of a car registered to viral singer 20-year-old David. The decomposed body was discovered after the Tesla had been towed to a Hollywood tow yard. As of now, there have been no arrests, no named suspects, and no persons of interest. Law enforcement is trying to piece together what happened. What were Celeste's movements? What was her connection to David? Was she killed or placed in the Tesla after death? How long was she there? And who was responsible? One new question that's emerged is whether David himself is being targeted or framed. Recently, there was a reported swatting incident at his parents' home in Hempstead, Texas, and people are wondering if it's somehow linked to the Celeste case. We now have the 911 call audio that triggered the police response. As previously reported by TMZ, police body cam footage from days after Celeste's body was found, around September 18th, shows officers arriving at David's parents' home after a report of gunfire. The parents appear shocked, confused, and frightened, clearly unaware of who would have called in a false report like that. TMZ has now released the full 911 audio, and it sounds like the caller may have used a distorted or altered voice, possibly a voice changer. Was someone hiding their identity? Could this be connected to the Celeste investigation? There have been no arrests yet in connection with this call either. To help us analyze the audio, we've brought in a forensic expert. Joining us now on Sidebar is Jennifer Owen, President of Owen Forensic Services. Jennifer, thank you for joining us.
Okay. Well, my day-to-day differs because I do forensic audio and video, but basically I have my hands in anything that is recorded, and in this day and age, that's almost everything. I deal with the authenticity of those audio or video recordings, or as we could tell with the AI of today, what's real and what's not, and where the provenance or the integrity of the files are in question. That is my big day-to-day. I also do voice recognition and clarifications on audio and video. So it's changing day to day, but I spend a lot of time telling people what's real and what's not. Do you know what I call this? I call this the perfect guest for what we're about to do. So Jennifer, thank you. Let me real quick play the full call and then we'll break it down. Waller County Sheriff's Office, this is Amber. Hello? Hello? Yeah, Waller County Sheriff's Office. Hello? I need help. Okay, what's going on? Where are you at? My address is... Okay, what's going on? I heard some gunshots. Okay, how close to your residence were they? They were right outside my house, and I think someone's dead. Okay, what's your name? Say it again. What's your name? Okay, what's a good phone number for you, sir? Okay, and why do you believe that somebody's dead? I just heard a loud scream and there were gunshots. Scream, okay, after shots, okay. But you haven't seen or heard anything else after that. I heard a scream. Was it a male or a female scream, do you think? It was a female. Female, okay, we're going to get deputies headed out that way and just confirming you're at? Yes, okay, I'm going to get them sent that way, okay? Okay, thank you. You're welcome, bye-bye. All right, Jennifer, let's start here. Is someone concealing their voice in this 911 call? Absolutely. Okay, and how do you know? What are they doing to mask their voice? Well, first and foremost, just listening to it as either a layperson or as a forensic audio analyst, it's the robotic inflection. That's the first tip where you think, wait a second, what am I hearing? It's the irregular vibrato, it's the inflection, and then you might say it could be the way it was recorded because there are also a lot of recording problems when it goes into something like this. So just from listening, you think, that's a red flag. We need to dig deeper into this. That's when you come to me and say, hey, Jen, can you check this out? What are we dealing with here? Is this a sign of manipulation or any kind of harmonic distortion? Or is this just a recording issue? And I'm thinking outside the box.
So I take a listen to it, and it's a mismatch between what we usually hear when we're speaking with someone, even on a bad line or a bad recording. So let's go a little bit further. I'm going to ask you about the provenance or the integrity of the source recording, where we got this from. That brings up an issue in your business because you're constantly investigating. The truth seekers, the truth tellers always come to me and say, can I put this on the air and be absolutely sure about what I'm saying here? So that brings us to this. I've gotten a red flag because I listened to it. So let me ask the person who gave this to me about the integrity of the recording. Now, here's the problem. By the time it gets to us or to the investigators or the truth seekers or anyone in forensics, it's been stepped on and touched by a million different hands. It's been downloaded, uploaded, encoded, transcoded, rewrapped, every which way but up. So you would look at the metadata, the media information, what I call underneath the hood, hexadecimal data, things of that nature to say, where did this come from and can we trust the source? And most of the time you can't. When you're taking stuff from the internet, the metadata usually gets erased, right? So we have nothing to work with. Then we've got to dig deeper. Obviously, this is a story we wanted to bring to you, and the reason we can do that is because of the amazing support we get from everyone out there, from you guys, and from our incredible sponsor, Upside. This is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas, groceries, and food. I pump my gas, I can use Upside. I go out to lunch, I can use Upside. I stop at a convenience store, I can use Upside. Why not get cash back when I do all these things, right? This is actual cash back, money that appears in your Upside app, which you can transfer right into your bank account. Once you have the free Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying, pay as usual using a debit or credit card, follow the steps on the app, and you get paid. To find out how much you can earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen. And make sure to use our promo code SIDEBAR because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Let me back up 1 second. Putting aside the source, where it came from, and the fact that it was published on the internet, now everyone hears it. Just to be clear, when you're listening to that recording, are you suggesting it's a real person using technology to mask their true voice, or is this AI generated? Well, it could be either, but just from my experience and 30 years of doing this, it sounded like a voice changer to me. The reason it sounded like a voice changer is because it all had to do with pitch. For those of you at home, real simple. Pitch is how high or low your voice can go, and that's very easy to change. You can do that with a free app, a 99-cent app, or even forensic or music software. So you can do that on your WavePad, you can do that on anything. Pitch is basically just the degree of how high or low a voice is, and that's the easiest way to start. But I have a sample here that I want to show you to demonstrate how easy it is and how by looking at it we can say, wait a second, this is our first clue, our first red flag. I'll put this into forensic software and take a look at the voice formats to see how it was done.
So are you saying this might be how the voice was changed using this piece of technology, this program?
It's very possible.
Okay, so show it to us.
Okay, so Jennifer, there is a possibility that someone is using technology to mask their voice, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and how I see that when I put it into the software, when you're looking at it visually, the first thing I did was take a small phrase from the actual recording you sent me. Then 4 times in a row, I changed the pitch. I took the pitch down by 10, then another 10, and then raised it all the way up to what a female level would sound like.
So you're talking about 4 different sections that you can see visually.
Because I wanted to show you how easy this is, right? You could do this in an app anywhere.
All you're doing is changing the pitch from high to low. We can go from male, like Luther Vandross, all the way up to Mariah Carey at the touch of a button.
In other words, even though on the 911 phone call the dispatcher refers to this person as a male, as sir, this could actually be a woman.
It absolutely could. They just changed their voice changer all the way down to make it sound like a man, but it could be anybody.
Is there any way to pinpoint the exact technology they used? You said there are free apps. Can you identify which one it was, where to buy it, or who might have purchased it?
No, you're not thinking too deep into it. But since this has been everywhere, looking under the hood of the file won't tell us that. What we can do is look at the spectrogram. Using techniques we know as forensic audio analysts, we can see clues. Regularly spaced harmonics and untouched harmonics usually show straighter lines. When a voice has been modified, it looks blurry or stepped on, fuzzy. Depending on how the pitch was adjusted, the lower formats and fundamental frequencies stay within their range. That's how I know someone took an app or easily available software, even something on their iPad, and just turned the pitch up or down. It really is that easy.
Now, here's the million-dollar question. From what you've seen, is there any way to pinpoint the identity of this person? And I apologize if this sounds naive, but is there even a database of voices out there, a way to take someone's unaltered voice, put it somewhere, and identify who that person is? Is there any way to uncover the true voice behind this call and determine who made it? Well, this is the big forensic question, and unfortunately the answer is, it depends. It depends on the provenance and integrity of the recording. What I can do, and what I showed in this example, is take the recording you gave me, modify it, and then bring it back to what it originally was. So, if we have the original recording and a few persons of interest, we could adjust the pitch up or down to match the same frequencies. If the frequencies aligned, it could create an interesting pool of suspects. That's a great point. Now, if all law enforcement has right now is that 911 call, which might already be distorted, and they have no suspect, no one identified as a potential caller, what's the likelihood of identifying someone from that recording alone? Very slim, very slim. Okay. Does law enforcement have any specific tools beyond what you've described? Something that could help them identify the voice or pinpoint the technology used? It's not so much about identifying the voice at this point. Every agency or a police district is different, but most have some software available to analyze audio acoustics and similar elements. Are we at the point where we can identify someone from what little we have? I don't think so. By the way, that pause at the very beginning of the 911 call when the dispatcher says, "Hello, is anyone there?" There's a noticeable silence before the voice starts talking. Could that mean the caller was activating the voice changer or testing it first? It's possible, and it is significant. I call it the fumble. People who do these kinds of things often take 1 or 2 seconds to make sure it's working, pressing the start or pitch button or activating the filter. After doing this for years, I've seen that happen a lot. All right, fascinating analysis. We'll see what comes of this investigation. Jennifer Owen, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your expertise. Incredible work. And with the rise of AI, I imagine you'll be very busy in the years to come.
So thank you so much. Now, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Now, let me just add a little bit more here and give you some context. We have the body cam footage from when officers arrived at David's parents' home. I'll go out wide and keep you covered. You want to tap the door? Wait for me. I'm going to keep you covered. Go ahead. I got you covered. Come right here. There are too many windows here. Knock on the door. We got a phone call from here saying that somebody was dead. What? Is there somebody else that lives on this property that has your address? What's your address? No. That's it. That's what I actually got. We got an address. There was a gunshot and a woman's scream. What? I'm serious. That's why we came up here like this, because... And then they talked to the caller. Whoever they were talking to said that there's a person dead. No, sir. No, sir. So officers have their guns drawn. They're already thinking someone has been killed. There's just a lot of confusion from David's parents. They don't seem to have any idea what's happening. They close the door, and then this happens. Ma'am, we've got to figure out what's going on so we can leave, okay? Hey guys, we made contact. They said nothing happened here. She shut the door. Now she's calling 911. That's clear. We haven't received a call. I believe she's going to be in the process. Go ahead, give them a call if you want to verify it. Okay. All right, she's calling you now. There's more that went on. Can you repeat, sir? Broken traffic? Huh. That's not normal activity. If you were at the wrong address, they'd be concerned about somebody else. Like, really, you know what I mean? Maybe they'd be trying to help. Tinder 42, sir, sorry to bother you, but somebody called and said there was something... You mean there was a person dead or they called on themselves? You know what I mean? Like, hey, there's somebody dead. Someone's dead. That's what we have. I mean, I'm gonna take caution. You know what I mean? Wasn't trying to scare y'all. Just this house is way off the roadway. So you just opened the gate and came in? Yes, ma'am, I'll put it back. I have a gate just like it. I think it's a different country. Yeah, when it's something like this, when they say somebody's dead, their life matters more than, I didn't damage your gate, I just opened it. And that's when they start to think, wait a second, is this a prank? Are David's parents victims of a swatting incident? When someone makes a false report to trick police into sending armed officers to a person's property? Look what happens next. That ain't on their phone, and that's not a Texas number. Yeah, that's an out-of-state number. Someone's messing with us, but whoever did it pinged here because wherever they called from, it pings and sends it to dispatch. What? So like, whenever you call 911, wherever you are, it sends a ping. That's how they know the address. And this address came up linked to this number. Yes, ma'am, that's where it was pinging. So is there somebody on my property? It could be. We'll check the property for you. Yes, please. So we'll ride around. Oh, if you give me a layout, how's the property? Does it go further back? No, it doesn't go any further back. It's right here, the fence gate here around the fence. Okay, well, him and I will ride around and check, and then we'll leave, Yeah, okay, so that was a false alarm. You see, I don't like this kind of thing, but if I really do have an emergency, then yeah. Okay, thank you, ma'am, sorry. All right, we do have an emergency. You know we're going to be here. We're going to get here. Yeah, okay, thank you, Jennifer. All right, you have a good night. Someone is messing with us. Yeah, it's very scary. It's very scary. And you can see David's mom wondering whether someone is still on the property. Now, it's not clear if David was in the home when all of this was going on, but according to TMZ, the police report indicated that officers spent another 20 minutes on the property, possibly to see if anyone was there. It appears this could have been, again, an instance of swatting. So, is this connected to anything regarding Celeste? I will tell you one thing. I wonder as if there is a theory that David was framed, right? A body found in his car. Does this line up with this? Well, you know what? I asked retired FBI agent Colin Schmidt about this. The timing and the circumstances of this are weird. Of all times for this to happen is the body's discovered in his car after she's been identified for there to be a potential swatting incident where somebody calls 911 with a fake allegation, a fake crime for their property. Out of all people, out of all times, it's weird. Well, it's weird, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me because this case has taken on national significance in terms of people paying attention to it, and there are bad actors that understand how to bring harm to somebody by way of swatting. So somebody called the 911 system down there. They found the address online and were basically made up a story for the cops to go there, and then they went in. And fortunately, the police were very professional and they were able to immediately understand that it was a swatting incident and it wasn't a legitimate call. What did you make of the body cam? The body cam, I think the parents were scared to death. Law enforcement coming to their front door with guns drawn, they had a reasonable reaction that I would even have, even though I've been in law enforcement for 28 years. So that's really what the insidious nature of swatting is.
You really put people in danger, because those parents, if they had come to the door with a gun or resisted in some way, law enforcement would have had a duty to defend themselves, and it would have been a disaster. Here's my thought on how this possibly is connected, and I'm curious about your opinion on it. So, I think it is bizarre that Celeste's body was in a car, registered to David, out on a public street in LA, and reports indicate that the car was there for weeks. It got a ticket, it was towed, it was impounded. Her body was decomposed. So if we assume her body was in that car for quite some time, we don't know exactly when it was placed there, but assuming it was there as long as the car was parked, it does make me think, and we've seen theories online about this, is it more likely that someone deliberately put that body in there to make sure it was found, to make sure it was connected to David, as opposed to the idea that the body was found before the perpetrator had time to dispose of it? Now, if I accept that, if there was this idea to frame David, if he's being targeted, is it possible this alleged swatting call was done with the same intent by the same person? Is there a connection that way, or am I really reaching here?
That's possible, but not probable. It just appears that somebody was harassing his family by way of this call. Going back to the car, you're spot on. The car comes back so directly to him that law enforcement has to take a step back and always ask that compelling alternative question. Was he framed? What's going on here? Is somebody really that foolish to take a car registered to them, kill somebody, put them in there, and then leave the car there for multiple weeks? So that's where it lends credence to the framing theory, but the bottom line is law enforcement is going to gather all the facts. And now, because of the swatting, depending on where the call came from, the FBI will likely start to get involved, and eventually law enforcement is definitely going to get the answers to all these questions.
Okay, so as we navigate all of that, let me just make one final point about Celeste Rivas Hernandez and all of this. She has been laid to rest. Reports indicate she has been buried at Queen of Heaven Cemetery and Mortuary in Rowland Heights, California. There was a funeral service on October 6th, attended by family, with no indication that David was there in any way. But this brings it back to the victim in all of this, again, trying to understand what happened to her. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Oybek. I'll speak to you next time.